So we'll speak on Mahakali, and Mahakali's aspect of strength and also love. So Mahakali is not only strength, but she is also love, and I'll speak on that. So the first slide, please. So we start on the second slide. The Adda Shakti. The Adda Shakti is the original Shakti, therefore the highest form of the mother. Only she manifests in a different way according to the plane from which one sees her. So you see that people see her from different planes. People see Adda Shakti, the original Shakti, from different planes. One can see it from the mind.
I think we're going to have problems with the
See
internet
from the
volume.
vital. Ishwari's natural place is in the higher consciousness, wideness and large. Yes.
We have a very bad connection or something.
Do you think if he turned off his video that it would help?
I don't know.
You're breaking up us, Dr. Basu. We're only hearing words in between. And it looks like he's frozen.
No.
Okay, maybe try now.
So,
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, we're going to have internet. Problem. Hmm.
Can you connect your phone on the...
Adda Shakti. Can you hear me now?
No, can you connect
Am
your
I audible
phone?
now?
Wait a minute. Can you connect your phone on the Wi-Fi of the center? Because your phone is connected to whatever grid. But if you connect it to the Wi-Fi, it will be better connection. I believe that is the case. That's why your voice is breaking.
Yeah, and he's frozen too.
Or you can start your computer and speak from your computer and show your face from your phone. It's also possible.
I'm not even sure he can hear us. Okay, he's going to come back in.
I can put some meditation.
Well, we'll just
Okay.
we'll just give Dr. Basu a few more moments here. He's, as you can see, having issues with the internet. See if we can get him to be able to be audio. You'll be able to hear him before we kind of decide here what to do. Here he comes in.
Now my video is working.
Yes, please go ahead. Yes, good.
Video is working now.
Yes, we can see you. Yes, please.
And you can see, I can see my slide also.
Perfect.
Great.
Perfect.
So I start now again.
Yeah,
Please.
please.
So Adya Shakti is the original Shakti, therefore the highest form of the mother. Only she manifests in a different way according to the plane from which one sees her. So Maheshwari's natural place is in the higher consciousness above the mind. For she is the wideness and largeness and wisdom of the divine. And Mahakali acts most naturally to the higher vital, which is the instrument of force and power. So you see, the four aspects of the mother, they act according to the level from which we see them. So if we see them from the higher, from the plane higher than the mind, then we can see Maheshwari. If you can see them from the vital plane, then we can feel Mahakali. And to the heart, it is Mahalakshmi. And to the mind, it is Mahasaraswati. So these are the different, this is the difference.
Maybe the next slide, Vladimir.
I think the slide, you have to show the slide, I think. Of course, it has come. So Mahakali is of another nature. Mahakali is of another nature, not wideness but height, not wisdom but force and strength are her peculiar power. So Mahakali is of another nature, not wideness or not wideness but height, not wisdom but force and strength are her peculiar power. So her peculiar power is strength and force, not wisdom, not height, which is Maheshwari's privilege. Mahakali and the Kali are not the same. Mother says that Kali is a lesser form. Mahakali in the higher plane usually appears with a golden color. Mahakali in the higher plane is not according to the Kali which we see. The Kali which we see is not Mahakali. She is golden in color. And Sri Aurobindo says that Kali, Shama, etc. ordinary forms seen through the vital. Kali, Shama, the ordinary Kali, the Kali images that we see, black or blue, which we see, they are Kali or Shama, they are ordinarily forms seen through the vital. The real Mahakali form, whose origin is in the overmind, is not black or dark or terrible, but golden of color and of beauty, even when formidable to the Asuras. So the real Mahakali form, whose origin is in the overmind, is not black or dark or terrible, which we usually see. We usually identify Kali as black or dark and terrible, but actually Mahakali is of golden color and she has got beauty, even when formidable to the Asuras. So she is very beautiful. Indifference, negligence, and sloth in the divine work she cannot bear, and she smites awake at once with sharp pain if need be, the untimely slumberer and the loiterer. This is from the book Mother by Sri Aurobindo. Indifference, negligence, and sloth in the divine work she cannot bear, and she smites awake at once with sharp pain if need be, the untimely slumberer and the loiterer. The impulses that are swift and straight and frank, the movements that are unreserved and absolute, the aspiration that mounts in flame are the motions of Mahakali. Her spirit is stemless. Her vision and will are high and far, reaching like the flight of an eagle. Her feet are rapid on the upward way, and her hands are outstretched to strike and to succor. Her hands are outstretched to strike and to succor. Now, this is a very important line. Her hands are outstretched both to strike and to succor. You see, she doesn't like indifference, she doesn't like negligence, she doesn't like sloth. The impulses that are swift and straight and frank, the movements that are unreserved and absolute, the aspiration that mounts in flame, or the motion of Mahakali. Her spirit is stemless, her vision and will are high and far, reaching like the flight of an eagle. Her feet are rapid on the upward way, and her hands are outstretched to strike and to succor. Now, this word outstretched, this phrase outstretched, this stands out. In a question to Sri Aurobindo, a sadhak asked what he meant by hands are outstretched to strike. What does he mean when he has written in the mother that hands are outstretched to strike? And Sri Aurobindo answered, it expresses a general action in the world. It expresses a general action in the world. She strikes at the Asura. She strikes also at everything that has to be got rid of or destroyed, the obstacles to the sadhana, etc. But he also says, he answers to the sadhak, that I may say that the mother never used the Mahakali power, in your case, not the Mahakali pressure. So it is a general action in the world that hands are outstretched to strike and to succor. But she strikes at the Asura, she strikes also at everything that has to be got rid of or destroyed. But the mother never, but he assures the sadhak that mother doesn't use the Mahakali power in his case, not the Mahakali pressure. This means that the supreme action of the Mahakali power is pretty rare. This means that the supreme action of the Mahakali power is pretty rare. And this is a love. This is a love for humanity. This is a love for mankind. This is a love for us. That she doesn't strike always her supreme action. She always doesn't strike in a supreme way. She can strike. She can always strike, but she doesn't strike. She doesn't always strike in the supreme way. This is our example of a love. So I said that Mahakali is strength, but she is also love. And this is the reason that she is also love. For she too is the mother. For she too is the mother. And her love is as intense as a rock. She has a deep and passionate kindness. She has a deep and passionate kindness. So she too is the mother, and her love is as intense as a rock. So our anger and our love are both intense. You see that her love is intense as a wrath, as intense as her anger. Her love, that she spares us. She doesn't use her Mahakali force always, her supreme Mahakali force always on us. She spares us, that is her love. And that love is as intense as her wrath. She has a deep and passionate kindness. When she is allowed to intervene in her strength, then in one moment are broken, like without consistence, the obstacles that immobilize or the energies that assail the seeker. When she is allowed to intervene in her state. Now, why is she hesitant when she is allowed to intervene in her state? So Sri Aurobindo was referred to the second sentence and asked that intervention, how the intervention of the Mahakali force failed. He answered, it is failed as if something swift, sudden, decisive, and imperative. When it intervenes, it has a kind of a divine or supramental sanction behind it, and it is like a fire against which there is no appeal. What the intervention of the Mahakali force? So it is something swift, sudden, decisive, and imperative. When it intervenes, there is a kind of divine or supramental sanction behind it, and it is like a fire against which there is no appeal. Now, what is done cannot be reversed or undone. The adverse forces may try, may even touch or invade, but they retire baffled, and it is seen as soon as they withdraw that the past ground has remained intact, felt even in the attack. Also, the difficulties that were strong before being touched by this fire lose their power. Their verisimilitude destroyed. Their weak shadows that come only to flicker and fade away. I say allowed because in the previous slide the word allowed was used, because the supreme action of the Mahakali is comparatively rare. The supreme action of the Mahakali is comparatively rare. The action of other powers or a partial action of Mahakali is more common. You see, If her anger is dreadful to the hostile and the vehemence of her pressure painful to the weak and timid, she is loved and worshipped by the great, the strong, and the noble. For they feel that her blows beat what is rebellious in their material into strength and perfect truth, hammer straight what is wry and perverse, and expel what is impure or defective. If her anger is dreadful to the hostile, and the vehemence of her pressure painful to the weak and timid, she is loved and worshipped by the great, the strong, and the noble. She is loved and worshipped by the great, the strong, and the noble, not by the weak, not by the people who are suffering, but people who are great, people who are strong, people who are noble. They love and worship her, for they feel that her blows beat what is rebellious in their material into strength. For they take the blows positively. They believe that the blows beat what is rebellious in their material into strength and perfect truth, hammer straight what is wry and perverse, and expel what is impure or defective. So her blows beat what is rebellious in their material into strength and perfect truth. That is why she is loved and worshipped by the great, the strong, and the noble, not by the weaklings, not by the weaklings, but but you have to be strong to love her. You have to be strong to worship her, because you know the blows will actually correct you. The blows will correct your material into strength and perfect truth. And then this is a very important slide. But for her, what is done in a day might have taken centuries. Without her, Ananda might be wide and grave, or soft and sweet and beautiful, but would lose the flaming joy of his most absolute intensities. Without her, Ananda might be wide and grave, or soft and sweet and beautiful, but would lose the flaming joy of his most absolute intensities. And you see, then she helps everyone. She helps Mahasaraswati. She helps Mahalakshmi. To knowledge, she gives a conquering might. To Mahasaraswati, she gives a conquering might. Brings to beauty and harmony to Mahalakshmi a high and mounting movement. And imparts to the slow and difficult labor of the perfection an impetus that multiplies the power and shortens the long way. But for her, I am repeating it again, but for her, what is done in a day might have taken centuries. Without her, Ananda might be wide and grave, or soft and sweet and beautiful, but to lose the flaming joy of his most absolute intensities. To knowledge, she gives a conquering might, brings to beauty and harmony a high and mounting movement, and imparts to the slow and difficult labor of the perfection an impetus that multiplies the power and shortens the long way. So you see that she helps all the others. She helps all the others, all the other powers she also helps. So what strikes here is Mahakali's contribution to the other powers of the knowledge, of the mother, to the knowledge of Maheshwari, to the beauty and harmony of Mahalakshmi, to the labor towards perfection of Mahasaraswati. To the knowledge of Maheshwari, what strikes here is Mahakali's contribution to the other powers of the mother. So she helps Maheshwari in knowledge, she helps Mahalakshmi in beauty and harmony, and she helps the labor towards perfection of Mahasaraswati. So she's not isolated, she's not alone. She helps others. She is not alone because she is strong and she's what we think that she is different from others. It is not like that. Nothing can satisfy her that falls short of the supreme ecstasies, the highest heights, the noblest aims, the largest vistas. Therefore, with her is the victorious force of the divine, and it is by a grace of her passion and speed if the great achievement can be done now rather than hereafter. Nothing can satisfy her that falls short of the supreme ecstasies, the highest heights, the noblest aims, the largest vistas. Therefore, with her, it is a victorious force of the divine. It is by her grace of her fineness and passion and speed if the great achievement can be done now, or rather than hereafter. Terrible is her force to the Asura, dangerous and ruthless, her mood against the haters of the divine. for she is the warrior of the world who never shrinks from battle. Terrible is her face to the Asura. Dangerous and ruthless her mood against the haters of the divine, for she is the warrior of the world who never shrinks from battle. Now, Mahakali takes different forms in the battle. When she comes to kill the Asura Mahisha, she comes as Durga. When she kills the Asuras, Shumbhu and Nishumbo, then I will come to Shumbhu and Nishumbo afterwards. She donned the terrible face of Tara, Sasan Kali, who is a Sasan Kali, who is a Kali of the funeral ground, Kali of the graveyard. So when she kills the Asuras, Shumbha and Nishumbo, she dons the terrible face of Tara. When she comes to kill the Asura Mahisha, she comes as Durga. In mythology, Kali was created out of the anger of Durga. You see, in mythology, Kali was created out of the anger of Durga. When fighting with demons, she expresses a Rudra Roop, her anger personified. Rudra Roop is the anger personified. That anger forms into a shape and form of Kali. So, in mythology, Kali was created out of the anger of Durga. When fighting with demons, Durga expressed her Rudra Roop, her anger personified, and that anger forms into a shape and the form of Kali. That angry aspect of Durga is supposed to be represented as Kali. So Kali and Durga are related. It's not that they are unrelated, they are related. It is from Durga that Kali has arisen. So because Durga, when she was fighting with demons, she expresses her Rudra Roop, her anger incarnate, her anger absolute. That anger forms into a shape. And if you see, Rudra is a divine anger. Rudra Roop is a divine anger. It is not an ordinary anger. It is not our anger. Rudra Roop is not our ordinary anger. We can be angry very much, but that doesn't mean Rudra Roop. Rudra Roop is a divine anger, anger of the divine. That anger forms into a shape and form of Kali. The anger of the divine forms into shape and form of Kali. That angry aspect of Durga is supposed to be represented as Kali. Next slide. Mahakali can work only when there is a calm inner being and resolute will facing without disturbances or difficulties. She can work only when there is a calm inner being. You have to have a calm inner being for her to act. This is important. You see, all of Sri Aurobindo psychology starts from the inner being. Sri Aurobindo psychology has no connection with the outer being. All of Sri Aurobindo psychology, the whole Sri Aurobindo psychology starts from the inner being. And that inner being, you have to establish that calmness so that Mahakali can work, and a resolute will facing without disturbances all the difficulties. When there is not that, then it is only possible for Maheshwari to work in order to bring her calm and wideness into the being. So when you do not have that inner being's calmness, then it is only possible for Maheshwari to work to bring her calm and wideness into the being. Because the calm and wideness has to be brought by Maheshwari, and then only Mahakali can work. The calm and wideness in the being has to be brought by Maheshwari, and then only Mahakali can act. Durga combines the characteristics of Maheshwari and Mahakali to a certain extent. There is not much connection with Mahalakshmi. Durga combines the characteristics of Maheshwari and Mahakali to a certain extent. There is not much connection with Mahalakshmi. The combination of Krishna and Mahakali is one that has a great power in this yoga. So Krishna and Mahakali, that combination, has a great power in this yoga. The Ishvara and the divine Shakti were one person or being in two aspects. And it put forward the union of them as Krishna Mahakali, a great power for the manifestation. Ishvara and the divine Shakti. The Ishvara and the divine Shakti. God and his Shakti are one person or being in two aspects. So God and Shakti are not different things. They're one being in two aspects. Ishvara and Shakti are one being in two aspects. And it put forward the union of them as Krishna Mahakali is something which is a great power for the manifestation. The combination of Krishna Mahakali has a great power for the manifestation. Now I give you a personal anecdote which is related to Kali, and is related to my work on occultism, which finds a chapter in my book, Consciousness-Based Psychology. There is a chapter on occultism and psychology, occultism and psychiatry. And how that work came, it is an experience of It is an experience of Kali for which I came to do that work, that I will tell you. A strange dream on a new moon's day in the month of September revealed the great cremation ground of Tarapit, where I have never visited Tarapit before. Now, Tarapit in Bengal is famous for its ancient Kali temple. And it is the most renowned place for the occult tradition of Tantra. You see, all the occult work in Tantra, the highest occult work is done in India, in that place where Tarapit, it is that place where the highest occult work is done. Some of the most difficult occult rituals in the world are traditionally carried out in the cremation ground adjacent to the temple, where at times certain esoteric practices are worked out with corpses as templates. I had earlier seen a number of, now, for a long time I had seen psychotic cases of schizophrenia, whose psychosis were triggered off after the subjects had visited the Kali temple, ostensibly to seek occult power rather prematurely and without the rigorous preparation needed for such endeavor. So for a long time I had been seeing, though I had never gone to Tarapit, but I knew Tarapit is a place where when many people go and they develop psychosis, and it is for, you see, to seek occult power rather prematurely. They were seeking occult power rather prematurely. You see, that is why when any patient used to come and ask me whether he should go to Tarapit, I used to always say, without knowing anything about Tarapit, I used to say that first be calm, first be composed, first get well, then go to Tarapit. Don't go to Tarapit in an illness state. Don't go to Tarapit. Now, next slide. Now, I dreamt of the cremation ground flooded with people in new dresses. So I dreamt of the cremation ground and it was full of people, thronging people. People were thronging like anything. And there were thousands of people there, and they were all in new dresses. And I interpreted this as signifying the popularity of occultism in the modern scientific age. So the modern scientific age doesn't lose its interest in occultism. I interpreted that in that sense. I saw how some people got in a hurry to learn occultism, developed acute psychosis as their consciousness was not ready. In that dream, actually, I saw how people became psychotic, how their consciousness disintegrated. I saw in the dream how their consciousness disintegrated and they became psychotic. I inquired whether there would be a ritual with the corpses and was told that a 12-year-old boy had been murdered by an elder he adored, and his corpse would be used for rituals near the river, because usually cremation grounds in India are on river banks a bit later in the evening. So I actually inquired whether there would be any rituals with the corpses, and I was told that this 12-year-old boy was murdered, and on his dead body a ritual will be enacted that evening. And then I dreamt of being suffocated by the crowd. The atmosphere became dark and heavy. Atmosphere became very dark, very heavy. I was breathless and choked. I felt a sense of intense constriction in my chest. Everything turned eerie. And I strongly felt that this era of black magic, this practice of dark and macabre occultism could no longer be tolerated, as it had outlived itself. You see, I felt a sense of intense constriction in my chest. Everything turned eerie. And I strongly felt that this era of black magic, this practice of dark and macabre occultism could no longer be tolerated, as it had outlived itself. It is then I saw the beautiful white light of the universal and transcendent mother. I saw our mother in her universal and transcendent voice. I saw the mother descending gradually with grace and pristine splendor in Tarapit, the place of Ma Tara, who is Kali. In that place, I saw the transcendent white mother coming down, enveloping the world and replacing the darkness below her gown. As she used to say that her gown was enlarging when she was a child, she had a dream. Her gown was enlarging and touching everyone, and everyone was getting okay. Like that, I saw her gown expanding and touching everyone, enveloping the world and replacing the darkness below. Then I understood, even in my dream, that a higher occultism based on a spiritual consciousness would one day replace the inferior black magic that symbolized contemporary occult practice. So you see, There was an intense constriction in my chest because it was very heavy. The atmosphere was very heavy, very dark. It was turning eerie. And I felt that this era of black magic should end. And that time, at that very moment, I saw our mother in her universal and transcendent poise descending, and her gown expanding, and enveloping the whole universe, enveloping the whole world, repressing the darkness below. And then I knew that this black magic, this black occultism will be repressed by a white magic, by a white occultism. So this is not going to last forever. This will be repressed. So I woke up when the telephone rang. You see, I was dreaming this early morning. I was dreaming this, and I woke up when the telephone rang, and a lady told with excitement that everyone in her family at last realized what she had been pointing out for a long time, that the disharmony in the family where multiple members had developed paranoid symptoms was being caused by tantric occultists whom they had unknowingly invited to sort out their conflicts. So this was a large family of this, not one family very large, but all linked together. As in India, all families are linked together, brothers, sisters, and brother-in-laws, sister-in-laws, they're all linked together. All their families are linked together. And this was they were all linked together. There was a huge, broader family. And they had ultimately realized what she had been pointing for a long time, that the disharmony in the family was being caused by a tantric occultist, and where multiple members had developed paranoid symptoms. It was caused by tantric occultists whom they had unknowingly invited to sort out their conflicts. I had once gone to one of the homes of such, one of the members of the family. She had just developed a child. She had just born a child, but she was not suffering from postpartum depression. She was suffering from anxiety because on the roof of on the fifth floor, there was a roof. She was on the fifth floor, and the roof of the fifth floor, I could hear heavy furniture being dragged from one end to the other end of the roof. I could also hear that heavy furniture being dragged from one end of the roof to the other end. So you see, what we know in occultism, these things can happen, which we read in the mother's stories, that these things can happen, furnitures can move. When she was in Nigeria, she had seen the tables moved by by the lady of the house. So all these things were known, but this is the first time I experienced it. And then I knew that this was an occult work, and then I gave mother's blessings, and it went away. So I came to know that I was dreaming on the new moon day of Bhadra, a month in the Indian calendar, usually corresponding to the period between mid-August and mid-September, but I was dreaming in early September, which was the most auspicious day for occult work in India. And that day which I was dreaming was the most auspicious day for occult work in the whole of India. That day, that is called Kaushiki Amavasya. Why it is called Kaushiki Amavasya, I will tell you. And actually on that day, thousands of pilgrims, even this year also, people will visit. Thousands of people visit Tarapit on that day. So thousands of people visit. It was a surprising revelation, as I had never gone to Tarapit. And I felt that the dream had some significance in my work on a consciousness-based psychology and in my healing practices. But you see that I was dreaming on that very day. I was dreaming actually on the very day of the Kaushiki Amavasya, on the new moon's day, which is called Kaushiki. It is called Kaushiki, I will come to that, which is very interesting and which is related to our mother. So, my friend Dr. Michael Mahavik, an American psychiatrist, suggested that the higher occultism hinted in my dream should one day find place in psychotherapeutic practice. So I took up studying the relation between occultism and psychiatry and presented a paper on this subject at the World Congress of Psychiatry in Florence in 2004, replete with convincing case studies. Subsequently, an opportunity to present the paper to an audience of the Medical and Scientific Network in London, which Natalie Tobot, a medical anthropologist and author of Spiritual Psychiatrist, was gracious enough to arrange. And my friend Margot Borden, who was an integral therapist in Paris, now she is not in Paris, she also arranged for a presentation in the forum of the French Church. So you see, my friend told me that it should come in psychotherapy. This higher occultism should come in psychotherapy. And accordingly, I started work on occultism. I developed cases. I saw cases which were, I delineated cases which had occult meanings into it, occult implications which I had, and then I presented them. I had presented them in Florence. The World Congress of Psychiatry allowed me to present the paper in Florence. You see, that was very surprising that they allowed me. And in that session, there were present many of the. You see, there were many people in Italy in the Vatican, people who are bishops, people who are priests, who are also counselors, psychologists, psychiatrists. So they were present there, and they told me that now we can understand many cases of homicide after you have presented this. It was received very positively. And in London, when I presented, it was received very positively. In France, when I presented, it was received very positively. My own country, India, was the last place where I presented, despite skepticism before presentation. A surprising incident took place. Matha has told me not to present. Dr. Matha has told me not to present. An elderly gentleman stood up after I spoke at Bangalore. And though I had not been introduced to him, I understood that he commanded great respect from the audience. He dwelt on the uncertainty principle in physics. He talked about the uncertainty principle of physics and told that if that can be accepted, why this gentleman, what he's saying, that should also be accepted. And then I came to know he was Professor Sudarshan, one of the most eminent physicists of post-independent India. He has recently passed away, whose contribution to the field of quantum optics is globally acknowledged. He just missed the Nobel Prize. He just missed the Nobel Prize. So you see that I got a backing from him, and that was a great thing. So the whole audience told me, "Oh, Dr. Sudarshan, back to you." Next day, back home, I began developing my occult practice, occult way of dealing with things that I pursued along with my scientific acumen. I never thought of visiting Tarapit, as I had dreamt of it already. So I never thought of visiting Tarapit. I know that it is better not to visit. But 12 years after my dream, I took a sudden decision to visit Tarapit. And I found the presence of Goddess Kali, who is described as very terrible, very dangerous. You see, he's a Kali of the funeral ground. He's a Kali of the Sasan. He's the Kali of the graveyard. She's the Kali of the graveyard, and she is considered very frightful. But I found the presence of Goddess Kali very sweet. Indeed, it was an aura of sweetness that enveloped me the moment I entered the temple. This was very strange, as there are many who visualize her in her aggressive mood of the warrior goddess who cannot tolerate insincerity. And the next slide. I came to know that Goddess Kali, and this is important, I came to know that Goddess Kali at Tarapit represents a special emanation of the Supreme Shakti and was specially ordained from the cells of Mahakali, the supreme power incarnate to kill demons, the Shumbha and Nishumbo, who I mentioned before, who had manipulated Lord Shiva to get his boons for disruptive activities. So I came to know that Goddess Kali at Tarapit represents a special emanation, a very special emanation of Mahakali. And she has been ordained from the cells of Mahakali. Not only she is an emanation, she has been ordained from the very cells of Mahakali, the supreme power incarnate to kill demons who had manipulated Lord Shiva to get his boons for disruptive activities. Now, cell in Sanskrit is called Kosha, Kosh. Cell in Sanskrit is called Kosh. And the Kali of Tarapit was hence called Kaushiki. Kaushiki means from the Kosh. Kosh means from the cell. And here the cell she is derived from the cell of Mahakali. She had killed the demons on the new moon day of Bhadra, and that day is known as the Kaushiki new moon day, or the Kaushiki Amavasya in India. See, and the day is known as the Kaushiki Amavasya in India. Now, this was a strange revelation to me, as I had dreamed of the white light of the transcendent World Mother depressing the lower occultism on that particular new moon day. In fact, the transcendent light of the Shakti in Aurobindian parlance is active today at the level of cellular consciousness. You see, why I saw this, why I had this experience, because the transcendent light of the Shakti in Aurobindian parlance is active today at the level of cellular consciousness. Mother is the first person to work on the cellular consciousness. She's the first person to do work on cellular, to do sadhana on cellular consciousness. So I felt I understood the link between the power that one day was ordained from the cells of the transcendent World Mother, that was occult enough, the occult though not materialized, and the evolutionary progression needed today to the cellular consciousness in the matrix of matter. So when it was ordained from the cells of the transcendent World Mother, when Ma Tara was ordained from the cells of the transcendent world mother, it was occult enough, but it was not the cells, from the cells it was not materialized. It was not materialized, and the evolutionary progression needed today to the cellular consciousness in the matrix of the matter is where the materialization of the cellular consciousness of the cellular yoga will take place. So there is a link between the two. Now, while returning home, I visited a famous Sufi shrine at Pathorchapi near Tarapit and met the Sufi saint Abdul Rab, who was equally versed. He's a very interesting person. He has left his body through Ichha Mrityu, who recently he has left his body by an ordained death. But he was equally versed with tantric practices, besides having an understanding of Sri Aurobindo's teachings. And he had come to Pondicherry. For 1 month, he was in Pondicherry once. Rob is a living embodiment of the synthesis of Hindu and Islamic occultism, a combination you can rarely find. He is also a worshipper of Kali, and he had renovated the Kali temple at the funeral ground at Bakreshwar, which is adjacent to Tarapit. The Tarapit has a big funeral ground, a divine funeral ground, and the next divine funeral ground is at Bakreshwar. Because divine means people feel that if they are cremated there, they will be it augurs well for their afterlife. Now, for Rob's spiritual life began when he did sadhana at the Kali temple at Dakshineshwar, where Sri Ramakrishna lived. In fact, Sri Ramakrishna came in the subtle world to him and told him to go to the Sufi shrine. And Ma Sarada at that time in the subtle world served him sweets. So this is Rob, which I have a pleasure to introduce you to him to you. So next one. Next slide. When I narrated my dream to Rob, he gave a different explanation of the people with new dresses who had thronged the cremation ground in my dream. You see, I told you that in the dream I saw thousands of people. And they were all with new dresses. And I thought that it was because of the popularity of occultism in modern age. But Rob viewed it. Rob told me, no, that is not correct. It symbolizes the subtle beings of departed subjects who had been cremated at Tarapit. So you see, Tarapit is known in the Hindu tradition for being a very special place, Tarapit and Bakreshwar, for being cremated. For people being the corpses, dead bodies from a long distance. It's not the local people who cremate there only. People bring the corpses from a long distance, 200, 300, 400, 500 kilometers people bring. Because they have a feeling that something very good will happen in afterlife if they're cremated there. And Rob told me that what I saw, the people in new dresses, they were the subtle beings of the departed subjects who had been cremated at Tarapit. The funeral ground at Tarapit is always considered to be a specially blessed place to get cremated. So mystics assert that truth is non-linear and simultaneous and can be experientially perceived. So that is all. That is all for today.
Thank you, Soumitra. This is quite a presentation, very beautiful and occultistic in many ways, connected to your work, of course, and to the spirituality at large. And the change, the shift from one formation to another should be supported by Mahakali, yes, because this is the shift. One form has to go, another form has to come back, or to reappear. This renovation of form is actually in her domain. Yes, this intensity of change. It is intensity in knowledge, intensity in bliss, as you said, intensity in speeding up the work of perfection. All this power itself, Shakti, is the very heart of the Divine Mother. Yes, otherwise nothing would work if there would be not that Shakti which gives to knowledge, to the being, to the bliss and action, some kind of intensity. So thank you for this. I didn't know that you had this experience.
Yeah. So I have to go to the stage. There is a program going on for a book release. I have to go to the stage now.
All right.
I'm speaking from Sri Aurobindo Bhavan.
All right, all right. So thank you for connecting to us from Sri Aurobindo Bhavan. It's very beautiful to have you from that sacred for us place. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Basu. Appreciate it.
That's it.
Thank you.
That's it.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Namaste. All the best.
Namaste.